My name is Rosa Duarte and I am a type 1 diabetic. Today is World Diabetes Day, but it is also the day that this little one here turns 3 months old. Her name is Elena, and she is, of course, the light of my life. And I just thought it would be a perfect opportunity to share a video with you moms, or maybe going to be moms as diabetics, what I experienced with my first pregnancy, and you know, maybe some of the things that you can expect with yours. So thank you so much for watching, and I hope you find this video helpful. First things first, I'm not gonna lie, becoming pregnant as a diabetic, there are some risks involved, and the number one thing I can tell you is the more in control you are of your glucose or your sugar levels, the better off you're gonna be, because really the doctors are gonna ask you to hone in and keep a much tighter control of those numbers than you ever have before. My biggest concern in having a baby always was whether or not I was going to pass on type 1 diabetes to my child. And turns out there's really no firm answer on that, just because type 1 diabetes, the cause of it is unknown. All we know is that it's an autoimmune disorder. But the risk factors are, if you have both parents that have some kind of autoimmune disease or disorder, you will more than likely have one, but luckily my husband does not. Another risk factor is if the child isn't breastfed, which is one of the many reasons why I'm breastfeeding my little girl. And also, according to the American Diabetes Association, and something I didn't even know, is if you grow up in a warmer climate, you're actually less likely to develop type 1 diabetes later on in life. Pregnancy as a type 1 diabetic meant lots of doctor visits. I was getting weekly ultrasounds done towards the end of my pregnancy. I was also getting weekly non-stress tests where they check the baby's heart rate and monitor contractions, all of that good stuff. So I was going on a weekly basis, end of July, early August, to the doctor every week, getting all that stuff checked out. And they really like to stay on top, especially the ultrasounds, because they want to check the baby's size and make sure that the baby isn't getting too big. But like I said, as long as your numbers are in control, really you aren't at risk for all of that other stuff, especially having a larger baby. I ended up having Elena an entire month early. She was due September 14th and I gave birth on August 14th. And the doctor really doesn't know why, how that happened. I had really good control of my numbers. Another thing that happened in labor was that she was born with a very low blood sugar. She was born with a blood sugar of 15, which is extremely low. I've heard 60 is on the low end for newborns, so 15, I'm surprised she was even awake. But luckily, you know, she was awake, she was crying, she nursed a little bit, she was breathing okay, she was doing all the things a baby should do. However, she did have a very low blood sugar count. Because her blood sugar was so low, they did have to put her in the NICU for a couple of days, so really that's the only reason why she had to be in there. They had to monitor and make sure that she could regulate and, you know, just be a normal child afterwards. Really, a child of a mom who has diabetes, her little pancreas was pumping insulin in order to compensate for my high blood sugars. So that's basically what happened. And even though I did have very tight control of my numbers, it still affected her after I gave birth. So that was one thing that I did not see coming, even though I knew and I had planned, you know, to have as much control over my diabetes as possible. Even with those tight numbers, it affected her. After I had the baby, my insulin requirements obviously went back down. It took probably, I'd say, maybe a week for them to start dropping to, you know, what I was taking before when I had first become pregnant. But I will say it took a while. It took at least now, 2.5 to 3 months for me to find that equilibrium and take the right amount of insulin, because you're never going to go back to the exact same numbers you were before. Obviously, you're not going to take as much insulin as you did when you were pregnant, so it's a lot of trial and error. And another thing that you have to consider is if you breastfeed, it also depletes the glucose in your system, so you have to be very careful. I've been very hypoglycemic because I breastfeed, and overnight especially, you know, with those overnight feedings or nursings, you know, I would wake up in a night sweat and have to drink a lot of orange juice because my numbers were so low. But now, luckily, I'm finally at a point where my body is normalized and I'm taking the right amount of insulin. I'm not taking too much of it. But it did take a while for me to regulate. So that's it. It's been 3 months now, and we are doing very, very well. The baby, Elena, is doing awesome. She's happy, she's healthy, and I just wanted to share that with you, that it is possible to have a good, healthy pregnancy, and you know, one with less complications, even though we did have a couple with her birth, but things all turned out okay in the end. And she's doing all right now. Mommy's doing all right. Numbers are in check, and yeah. Anything else you want to share? I don't think so. Okay, I think she's getting hungry. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you found this video helpful, and we'll see you on the next one. Bye!